Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Today's guest is a really good friend of mine, and he's also been a great mentor of mine over the years as I've had challenges with business and had challenges with relationships. He's just been there for me for just about all of my 20s. So he's a great dude. He's a very successful entrepreneur. He's built and sold multiple businesses. Now he focuses a majority of his life and his time on the nonprofit world. So he's involved in multiple nonprofits. We're going to talk about some of those. We're going to talk about his experience and being a father. Something I've admired about him is that he's a great father, and I think it's awesome. And when I have kids one day, I hope to be as good of a father as him. So we talk about that. We talk about his spirituality and how he became spiritual in the first place because he used to be an atheist, and just overall a really good conversation. I know this is going to be an episode that you really enjoy, so please do. And just as a heads up, he did have a little bit of internet connectivity issues at the end, so the final bit of the episode does come to a weird hard stop, but that doesn't really affect the meat and potatoes and guts of the good stuff going on here. So I hope you enjoy. It's always great catching up with people I care about and friends close to me.
This is Openly Outspoken with Jeremy Adams, where differing opinions are not only accepted, they're encouraged.
All right, Michael, we're live, and I'm actually wearing pants today. We tried to record it yesterday, and there were some internet issues, and I wasn't wearing pants. But since I just got back from a lunch meeting, I am wearing pants for this episode, and because I knew you were dressing really nice today again. So thanks for being on.
Oh yeah, it's great to be here. So you wear pants, I'll wear glasses.
I actually I got these glasses right here, these blue light glasses. I was gonna wear them for the episode in honor of your glasses, but I'll let you keep the glasses for this one.
Well, I mean, look, I can remove the glasses. So.
All right, we'll put them back on. You look different now without it.
It's like
I'm talking to you for the first time now without the glasses. It's like a different person, which maybe lead for a better convo. So I know
if I remove the glasses, then what's going to happen to the universe?
I don't know.
Nothing.
Do you own any contacts or just glasses?
No, I have never had an appeal to wear contacts.
Would you ever get LASIK surgery?
Never. There's always that 5% that just doesn't work out right. And when they said, well, it's not like getting a haircut, right? They said when we do that, we do one eye. So we don't do both of them.
Worst case, you lose your eye, yeah.
In case we do them both at the same time and it goes wrong. And I was like, really, this doesn't sound like a good plan to me.
Have you seen the videos?
What's that?
They're kind of gross, the videos of them cutting open the eye.
No, I mean, I look at nature as metal, but that's about it.
Yeah, if you want to really get weirded out, at least for me, because I've thought about LASIK, and I still may consider it because I know a lot of people that have, but it's still weird how they just like cut open they just like take a little, it looks like a scalpel or something, and just like cut your eye and like laser it, and I don't know, some too crazy. I'll take my chances with COVID,
And that's just a mask or not a mask.
Yeah. And then, so this is where it's real risky if the doctor performing the LASIK has COVID and no one's wearing a mask. No, I'm just
Then what are you going to do?
And then because you get it through your eyes. Yeah, so they cut the eye open and your eye's just sucking in all the virus.
It's like am I getting COVID right now? Are you getting COVID?
Through the audio, yeah, we don't know.
The
doctors haven't.
It's new.
Fauci hasn't announced it, so it could be true. Because we just listened to.
I saw Fauci just walk by me here.
Yeah. The crazy thing about everything that's going on, I have some people in my life that they're like, well, the CDC and Fauci didn't approve it. And I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like for me, they've made a million mistakes, which is fine. We all are human and make mistakes. But it's like, Since when did the CDC and Fauci become the end all for like the future of our country? I mean, like, that's just what's crazy to me. Oh, Fauci says this, so this is what we're just gonna. Now all of a sudden Americans are like really about listening to doctors too. Never before. We're
Hey,
just
look, I
unhealthy.
know many doctors, and we know people at high levels and different roles, and I'm just thinking, never in a million years would I listen to this person. It was like I personally know them. I was watching somebody earlier today as an expert on a panel, and I personally know this person, and here they are being listened to as an expert, and I just thought, oh no, you know, maybe we call it the Fauci syndrome.
Well,
I don't know.
there's some psychological term for that. I can't remember what it's called, but it'd be like if Elon Musk was like your brother and he was giving you business advice, you'd be like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, cause it's like you're close. Once it's like a parent or a brother or somebody close, they just like aren't as credible because you have that like, I don't know if it's called like a proximity bias or like there's some psychological term for it, but once someone's too close, they're not like a credible advisor or something anymore psychologically.
Yeah, it's like even there's this old book that I read, and it said a prophet's only listened to outside of their town. If they're
Ah,
like truly a prophet, I mean, really, it's like from God on high. It's like nobody's going to listen to them in their own town or their own city. They'll only be listened to outside of there. But yeah, it's very true. Even as a parent, I haven't experienced this, but I have friends who they'll tell me that they'll talk to their children about different things, and the kids will not listen to them. But if somebody else, it could be a complete stranger, brings up the same thing, they'll say, "Oh my gosh, that was the most amazing advice I've ever gotten. I'm going to listen to that."
you've
So yeah,
never
just
experienced that?
convince.
I feel like that's parenthood 101.
Now I think we've created kind of like a very tight bind within our family with with our kids, and so we have really crucial real conversations, and they really will listen. I mean, I remember when William was little, we would go on nature walks, and we're big into nature. We have kayaks, we've had a john boat, we have a boat, we've had a canoe. Do you know what a canoe is?
It sounds like a canoe.
Yeah, it's like a canoe, but it's flat on the bottom so it won't flip like a canoe.
Mm,
And so we've gone on the lake that has the most alligators in the entire United States, Lake Jessup, many, many, many times.
that's the lake that we went on that day on kayaks, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Did I tell you that when we went on the
Yeah,
lake?
you did. After we were
No,
halfway out. Yeah.
I'm your friend, so I would tell you. So, but we were out on a nature walk, and I told William freeze, and he just froze. And then I said, look down. And there was a poisonous snake right down there curled up in the area where he's going to go pick up a stick or something like that. And so I said to him, like, if I ever tell you something, it's going to be meaningful. There's going to be a reason behind it. It's not just so I could be dad or feel good or wield my dad power. There's going to be a reason for it. And so, and John was with us, my youngest son at the time, and they never forgot that and many other things. So in any case, I think it taught them to question, to really listen to people they have a relationship with, that they've been through life with, to listen to those people. But beyond that, if they don't know somebody, and this is what I would say to any younger people or people in business, is question everything. Question it. Don't be a conspiracy theorist, but and trust. Trust but verify. I guess that's the way to say it. Trust people that are good, that are in a space, but verify everything. And in essence, then you're questioning it. So, get the data, get the facts. Don't just listen to everything that's being said out there.
Yeah, and conspiracy theorists aren't looking too crazy in 2020 though. So I mean, they're onto something. All these years they just been waiting for 2020. They're like, see why we built this bunker. See why we like the
See,
survival crowds have probably booming right now.
Yesterday, I went to like this important meeting, right? And there was like some who's who there and stuff. And they asked me to go there so I could be interviewed by a TV station. And so I showed up, I'm walking around and everything, and all of a sudden I looked around and I was like the sore thumb. I was like, "Where's Waldo?" I was the only one without a mask. And I was like, "Oh
Mm.
no." So I just, it was cool. I just
They
left.
didn't murder you. They.
No, and nobody like attacked me or anything. I put the mask on. And then a mind is a terrible thing to waste, so I'm always thinking about stuff and using it, trying to use it at least. And I just remember Michael Jackson used to walk around with a mask all the time,
Did
and
he?
everybody's like he would wear gloves and he wear a mask, and everybody is like he's crazy. I'm like, was he a time traveler or something like
He's
that?
a
And he's like,
visionary.
he was a
Yeah.
time traveler. He was like actually going through time. He's like, oh, I'm just gonna leave it on because who never knows. Maybe I don't remember. Maybe this is the year COVID comes out.
Yeah. COVID-12 back then. It could have got him. Uh,
Hey,
so so Michael, what have you been up to lately? I know you're involved in lots of nonprofit and for-profit stuff. Some of it, I'm partially involved in. But what have you been up to lately?
well, there's three really big things. One of which I'm concerned about because we do have water wells through Living Water, which is a nonprofit, Living Water for Roatan. Roatan's an island off the coast of Central America where maybe say it's like 30 miles long. 3 miles on the north end of the island are like multimillionaires, resorts, cruise ships, just beautiful, beautiful setting. All the rest of the island is dire poverty, and so we have water wells there for thousands of people, and we have literally uh, tens of miles of PVC pipe going from the water well on top of the mountain, and then there's a matrix of PVC pipe that reach out across the landscape into people's dwellings, and they fill up big barrels with water. So that's one thing, and we're always looking for help for that. We just had to replace one of our pumps, one of our motors for the water well just last week, which was really intense, and that's really expensive because we're pumping water out of the water table up a mountain to this huge cistern, this huge tank, and then it goes down. And we're the only. Can you imagine if your only utility company was, a nonprofit that's just trying to do the best they can to get you water? So that's pretty intense. Then the second thing is there's kids here in town that live in poverty in Central Florida, and their families, have lost their jobs. They're furloughed. They're living in difficult situations. And so we have this cool campaign called Backpackathon. And backpackathon.com, people can go make donations. And we actually have a store on the website that have some really cool backpacks, and you can select which backpack you want to donate, and we'll make sure that all those backpacks and school supplies get to the kids that really need them. And that effort is run by all volunteers, so we have no paid staff. So it's just folks, which you're a part of it, thank you. Just business owners and folks coming together to say what kind of difference can we make that is lasting and real. Well, you know what? Education is the great equalizer. Let's help make sure these kids have the tools. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is I'm here in a center that's called Lotus Healing Centers. This is the first of many, which over the next 3 years will be rolling out all across the United States. And, even before COVID, the big topic was the opioid crisis, prescription medications being abused, substance use disorder, mental health issues, these types of things. And these issues have been magnified because of COVID. People are being locked in their house. And so right now I'm in this 20,000 square foot building We're just rolling our efforts out. We have our licensure through DCF for outpatient, intensive outpatient, and day or night treatment, and then we'll go into residential. And Jeremy, you're probably not surprised by this, but we've started this as a nonprofit. So Lotus Healing Centers is a nonprofit, and we're going to take our revenue that we get, put it back into providing more care, and we're going to expand these centers all across the United States to provide care. Now, this is not for everybody. This is for children and adolescents. So if they're struggling with mental health or with substance use disorder, we're going to provide services here. So you can tell I'm excited, man. I mean,
Yeah.
three cool things that are not happening in Serial. I mean, they're happening in concert with each other at the same time. So I'll bounce from working on this facility here. We're actually providing care as part of our audit process right now, and we've hired all of our staff already, at least the initial staff, from the CFO to the COO to the clinical director to the IT director to the outreach director. And I'll pop from that, and then I'm working on getting a new pump, for the water wells, and then, just the other day I'm doing as many interviews as I can to get the word out there to corporations to give to the Backpackathon effort.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And where did you create any type of strategic alliance with this Lotus Healing Center project to leverage any type of staff or resources or anything?
There are a lot of great efforts that are going on out there. What I wanted to do was to find those folks that are tried and true. They've been around not so long to where they've forgotten what their true value and mission is, but they're really experts in this space. And so whether it's in public service, whether it's clinically, I am going out for those folks that are the best in this space and working with them. Again, there are so many people I could work with, but as the president and CEO of this effort, I want to make sure that everything that we're doing right now is resulting in a very strong foundation that is being built. So we've had a lot of people reach out to us, a lot of really good people, but we're being very cautious on how we build this organization, because then we're going to scale it, we're going to expand and go from there. And there's a couple things several things I look for in building an organization, and you're familiar with those. But yeah, so that's strategically, we've got a really great collaborative that's being built right now.
That's awesome. And I know you and me have talked about this multiple times, but I'm going to just ask you, since we're being recorded now, and I think it'd be a good conversation to dive into. So
we're being recorded?
Yeah. Shit. Yeah. I forgot to hit the record button. No, I'm just kidding. I think we're good to go. So we've talked about this multiple times. We've talked about both of these things I'm about to say multiple times. I feel like there's a lot of people in the corporate world in particular that, getting involved in nonprofits is a giant virtue signal. It's just a way to, act like you're helping and whatever, which is great. I think that's okay. You're still helping in many cases, so there's nothing horribly wrong with that. But just like a compliment to you, I would say, is like, I don't ever feel that with you. I feel that you're always just truly doing it for the good of the cause, not to have some like little side benefit, which is a great trait, and I think that's very admirable that you're just really passionate about helping. And so I just want to segue that into, like, where does that passion come from? Because I've shared with you on many occasions, and I recently turned 30, and I'm really about filling my own cup up right now. And obviously we're building our team, and I want to take care of our team and our customers as we're growing our different businesses that we're involved in. And I'm involved in a little bit of nonprofit extracurricular activities. But most of it's about taking care of myself and building for myself and my future family right now. And that's really my main focus. And I'd imagine it's going to be shifting as I get older. But I think I've given the ratio to you, like 90-10, like 90 on myself, and kind of being selfish and build mode right now, on 10% into giving to the community. So with that being said, just where do you get the motivation to invest all the time and energy you do into these nonprofit activities?
Wow, I didn't expect you to ask me that. So it's funny when you were bringing that up about our age difference. So I'm what, like 20 years older, 20 some years older than you. So I'm 53 right now, and I don't feel any different. I feel just the same way I did.
You don't look a day over 52. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't feel
you
it.
look great. You great shape. You look great. So
I feel, well, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't eat fast food unless you count Chick-fil-A. I guess that's fast food, right?
yeah, in moderation, it's okay.
Yeah, and like you said, I do everything in either I don't do it or I do it in moderation. But as you were bringing that up, I put myself, oh my gosh, where was I at when I was Jeremy's age? So it took me a long time to grow up, I think. I tried this out, I tried that out, and I think what happened in my life from 30 until 50, just say 30 to 50 to make it easy, is there are a lot of like incredible accomplishments, I would say, for myself, but then there were a lot of tragedies as well. And the tragedies, I didn't let tear me down and dismantle my well-being or my life. And I didn't let the victories or the accomplishments tear apart my life as well. And I've seen both of those things happen in many people's lives, to where they either just were doing so good that they lost track of say, their marriage, and they ended up getting divorced, or they did so good that they lost track of their own children, and they didn't actually raise their children and have relationships with them. And I made a decision early on that I was going to go ahead and value those relationships that were closest to me. And I think you've seen that as a friend as well. You're one of the people I consider to be one of my friends. And but I've seen other people just running after, like, what was that? The Lord of the Rings. My precious, like whatever, to hold on to that ring, and they would forget everything else just for that ring. And so maybe that was fame, or maybe that was wealth, or maybe it was power. Maybe it was just flat out selfishness, being selfish. Maybe it was sorrow or something. They would just focus so much just on that thing. But I think because of my relationship with God, the Creator, I saw all these things as part of my journey. So like there's a painting behind me here, and this painting is by Rembrandt. And I actually have a copy of this here in my office at Lotus, but I have one at my office at my house as well, the same exact one. The original one was stolen back in the 70s or 80s, and they still haven't been able to find it, a Rembrandt.
Wow.
And so these guys are like going through a storm, but there's one guy on this boat, he's not freaking out. And so the paradigm I took, Jeremy, was that whether something is feels like it's going to end me, like, oh my gosh, I will never get through this, this is so tough, or something is so incredible, like I'm the man, I'm conquering the world, this is incredible. I didn't see these things as the end all or the all in all. I saw them as just part of the journey, and part of the journey that I'm to go through in life, and that these things were going to be a part of helping direct the path that I'm on. And so when I look back to being, say, 30, There are many things. What I found was the thing that was most rewarding were things that I would do in secret to help others, or that when nobody else would know about, that I might do for somebody, whether that's my wife or my children or my friends or complete strangers. Um, we can't always do things secretly, right? We're leaders, so we need to lead, and that has to do with messaging and saying words, and engaging people. Um, but I look back that embracing the tough things and not being overpowered by the incredible things, but then also contributing to people's lives in real ways are the things that have been the most rewarding.
Yeah, and that's a great answer. So kind of the tragedies that have happened in your life, like obviously they're bad situations, but kind of using those as puts like somewhat motivation to like make a difference.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, like after I lost my second younger brother, my two brothers, yeah, well, losing one younger brother was tough. So talking about tough things, okay. Then when I lost, and by the way, even before I lost my brothers, I lost my father, um, and he was incredible. He was an incredible guy that I wish I would have learned so much more from and had so much closer relation. But then I lost one brother, and I lost the second younger brother. And there was a time, Jeremy, just to be real, when I lost touch with all reality. I mean, I could not handle it. I wish I could have told you I went to God, I went to Jesus, and I said, hey, help me with this. I'm going to rely on you. I did not do that. And there was like probably a year and a half where I just poured myself into work. I mean, I figured there could be worse things to pour yourself into, right? But I just poured myself into work. And it didn't help anything, but it stopped me probably from doing something stupid.
Yeah.
But once I got through that time period, then I was able to recenter. And I kind of embraced what I shared with you earlier, kind of that journey approach that all these things will work together for good for this journey that I'm on.
Yeah. Do you, and this is kind of a deep question. I've never asked you this before, but as you're talking about your brothers and your father, do you ever like think like if your brothers or father would be like proud of you seeing what you're doing today?
Wow, I've never actually thought about that. Wow, this is like one of those questions where you're like, take the camera away, take the
Yeah.
camera away. This is over with.
Yeah.
Uh,
Cut. Yeah.
yeah, okay. Um, I've never ever had that thought. What I have thought is that because of going through the loss, and yeah, I'm not the only one. I mean, people go through loss. I mean, whether it's a family member or a pet that you're very close to, or somebody that you look up to and you suffer that loss, or you lose a relationship, you go through a divorce, that's loss, okay? You give your whole life to a business or a company and then they just cut you, that's loss. So I'm not special in any case because of what I've been through, because we all go through these things. I guess what I have thought about is understanding my own mortality. I've gone through most of my life prior to this thinking I was bulletproof, that I could do anything, but understanding my own mortality is, I guess, the thing that I got out of this experience with my brothers and my father, is just knowing, look, not in a morbid sense, okay, but just more in a sense of wonderment and gratefulness that, wow, life is so short.
Yeah.
That let me not be resentful and bitter, either through something that I've caused or through something out of my control. because I've done some stupid stuff in my life, and I've had to seek out forgiveness and in those situations. But then there's things that have happened to me, like the loss of my brothers and other things, where I just said, these things making you bitter, what benefit does that have for anything? Let me not be bitter. Let me be grateful. Grateful for the moments that I have, for the friends I do have. But not only that, and this is kind of the crazy thing, I'm even grateful, Jeremy, for the tough things that happen.
Yeah.
And some of the things I've been through in life that I would probably never talk to anybody about. But I have looked at those things in gratefulness, that thank you that I've gone through this tough situation, because personally, I believe they're part of a spiritual a growth, a part of a spiritual path that I'm on. So if it's a great thing or tough, but gosh, my brothers and my dad, um, I don't think it's in me to have a thought like that.
Yeah.
But the thought, I guess, really was, let me have some redemption in it, to where I would understand just how precious life is. And I'm talking about quality life, like um, authentic, authentic life. And so I guess, like you've seen, I don't run to have relationships with everybody, even just if they're famous or well known. I want to have like real, authentic relationships. Why? Well, because I want to have like pure water to fill up a cup that has, maybe my life is a cup with a little bit of pure water in it, and it still needs to be filled. Well, anybody that I'm with, I want that to have value, for this experience that I'm having in life.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud of you, Michael. So, and then
Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate that. That
that
means a lot to me.
one of the reasons I thought of it, and it's just I think we put many of us, and we're all different, but one of my close friends who lost his dad when he was a little bit younger, he was going through a tough time, and when we talked on the phone a few weeks ago, he was like, sometimes I wonder if my dad would even be proud of me, like where I'm at in my life. And I just like, that was like deep. I was like, shit. Like, that's that.
Well, I could tell you, um, let me ask you, what was his conclusion? Did he feel like his dad would be proud of him?
I, I think his dad would be very proud of him. I think we're all, our environment and who we hang out with is so important, right? And if you're around the right people that are encouraging and supportive, you're going to obviously just perform and navigate life better than people that aren't. And I think he went through a spell of just being around people that weren't uplifting, and he was just feeling down. And like I listed, like, I think in that case, I gave specific examples of where I thought his dad would be proud. I was like, you did this accomplishment, like you were able to do this, and so in that particular case, I didn't know if it was better to just listen or give some positive reinforcement. I did my best to do like a combination. I just listened, and then I felt I needed to just, let him know that like I was proud of him, and I thought that his dad would be as well. But we we think a lot, like I think as humans, of what our loved one thinks, and then the loved ones think, and stuff like that. It's
Well, that's deep, Jeremy. I guess what I would think is, I would want my kids and my friends, my friends. I'm not saying, I've maxed out on friends on some social media platforms, and I know every single person. So it's like you'll get maxed out, and they're called friends. But I would, and there's many wonderful people out there, but those people are, I guess you'd say, core friends, friends. I want them to be proud of me, and
yeah,
I'd want my sons to be proud of me. One thing I do think about almost every single day, and this is crazy, is I want God to be proud of me. And almost every single day, Jeremy, I think about that, and I'm like, I want God to be, happy with how I'm living my life, and how am I experiencing this and contributing? And so that is something that I think about. And as far as my dad, I think he would most definitely be proud of me, I guess, because I think I was such a disappointment as a teenager.
There's only going up. Yeah.
There's only one way to go is up.
Yeah. That's
As a teenager in Europe, and I mean, we lived I grew up in Spain, and in Europe is you could do almost anything, and so I was hanging out with famous rock groups and going down to Madrid, and I made a lot of bad decisions as a teenager, and now being a father now, if I would have had myself as a son, I probably would have been really disappointed in myself, just because I was out, living like a wild experience as a teenager in Europe, and I think I was really close to my father when I was really young. He coached my baseball team when I was a kid, and we would go out fishing together. And then those teenage years, probably between 15, 16, 17, and 18, especially growing up in Europe where you could do almost anything you wanted as an American there. That was a very different experience. So I think that he would most definitely be proud. But I think anything that he'd be proud of me for only came because I found out, I found this book that I read that showed me ways to live and ways to experience life that really transformed my life.
Yeah, and you're getting a phone call, sounds like there, Michael. That vibrating. Yeah.
Oh, it did? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's okay. Here,
I thought
just take it on while we're recording. Take it, put it on speaker. That's what teachers That's what teachers do, right? Remember, if you write a note, they'd be like, "We're gonna just read it out loud."
Now I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It was a little subtle vibrating. I don't even know how much it's gonna pick up on the audio, but I'm wearing headphones, so I hear it.
Well, what's funny is, let me tell you, or anybody that's listening, Jeremy gave me my first smartphone. He gave it to me. When we first met each other, I had a flip phone, I think.
You know what I mean? Now you're addicted. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I am. I'm addicted to my phone.
I don't care remember what you had, but I gave you I transitioned to iPhone, but I had a really nice, I think it was like a Note. So it was one of those big ones. It was a Note, right? The first Note.
Yeah, it was a Note. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was nice, and it was only like a few months old. I just decided to make the switch to iPhone. So yeah, I was like, Michael, it's time. It was like,
I didn't want to either. I mean,
it was like the birds and the bees, but for phones.
I think actually you probably did a horrible thing for me giving me that phone.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Revolutionized even business. So now, like, even here for Lotus Healing Centers, everything we're doing is we're working to make it electronic. So we were just getting what's where you can sign electronically? What's that called?
DocuSign, is that what you use? Yeah.
So we were just like, okay, $190 for DocuSign. Okay, let's get it. Our EHR, electronic health records, everything we're trying and communication. So we're going to be communicating through an app to all the youth that we're creating, providing therapy to and rehabilitation. So yeah, you, Jeremy Adams, I appreciate it.
Yeah, there you go. This friend of mine was telling me, she's a paralegal. She was saying like trials and juries are moving all remote, and that's where I'm like, is that crossing the line? I feel like a big decision, like, you know what I mean? Like, these are some like big decisions. We're talking potentially big cash or prison time or.
So on this one, we all gathered together for the union of this man and this woman.
Yeah.
And people are going to get married. They're going to get married by phone. They're not even going to be with each other.
Michael, I think when things, which I think it's slowly transitioning back to the normal, but when the government says people can go and everybody's like, okay, we'll get back to normal, I think it's going to be, we're going to see a birth rate like we've never seen before. I think it's just going to be a giant party in the street. Like people are going to be, in my opinion, I could be wrong.
COVID
My
babies.
guess, yeah,
These are going to be the
COVID
COVID generation.
babies. No, I feel like people are going to just really want to be social, and they. I mean, I can personally tell you, I'm getting a little worn out from all these virtual calls. It's not the same. You don't have that human connection. It's just lacks. It's not how we're supposed to be as humans, and we can feel that deep within our
It's kind
bodies.
of weird though because in I'm experiencing the same thing you are and everybody else is. But I could tell you the fact that now people are not spending so much time because there's like a catch-22 on it. They're not spending so much time in the office, so they're more at home. I could tell you in my neighborhood, there are like neighbors that I had not seen in years, literally years, and I'm seeing the neighbors, and
What are they
people
doing? Just walking around?
people are spending, they're walking around, they're exercising, they're taught, they're they're distancing, okay, but they're talking to each other, they're hanging out in the front of their house in their backyards.
COVID
I
parties?
see more neighbors than for years prior to this happening.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, we're in a building with it's mostly like single or young couples, probably 45 and under on average in my building. So everybody's just been kind of hanging out since day one here. Nothing's really changed. We just been,
But yeah, you're like in one of the nicest locations in downtown
well,
Orlando,
the crazy,
off of Lake Eola. I mean, come on.
the
You can't really use your experiences like to measure by.
yeah, well, no one here like lives with older people and stuff. I mean, it's just kind of everybody I think's making their own risk profile. But when you tell people they're not allowed to go to bars, what are people just gonna do? Have house parties and stuff? I mean, that's exactly what started here. I think, based on the case data you're seeing around the country, I just don't think, all right, no bars, all right, cool, we're gonna have a house party. Like it is what it is.
That's what people used to do too. I mean, people would actually go hang out in other people's houses, not just going to some public location. And look, I think everybody should go support the bars, support the restaurants, help our economy out. So, I'm an advocate for that. But I think there's something to be said for the interpersonal, relationships that people have and being able to spend time together. Like I see it, as a follower of Christ, in a big way for myself as well, because churches were shut down, and I'm a student of church history as well, and when the church was first started, like Paul and Peter, all those guys that everybody knows about, they did not have a building for 300 years. 300 years they had no building. They met house to house in the temple courts in nature, that type of thing. So it was really people meeting, spending time with each other, interpersonal relationships, getting to know each other in one of the most personal spaces that anybody can have, their own home, whether it's a house or an apartment or, whatever it is. And so I think that, there's some tough things that have happened. Obviously, the economy crashing is is one of the worst things we'll ever experience in our lifetime. But there's good things that come out of all this. And so I think, spending more time with folks that you care about, your family, getting to know your neighbors a little bit more, churches not meeting in like the big Taj Mahal, or the mall, church building, and
Yeah,
actually spending time together is not a bad thing. I mean, you don't really need to, in the church world, do you really need a smoke machine and, the best concert lights in the world, to worship the creator of the universe? I don't know.
and like a DJ and
Yeah.
introing the priest.
Yeah, like hang up your skinny jeans, man. We can just chill. It's all
Yeah.
good.
That DJ sound. I'm gonna just play the DJ sound, Michael, but like just the one I was playing earlier. So just imagine the priest walking up, and then there's just like the Space Jam music starts, and then
It's
that
actually like that in a lot of
Yeah,
situations.
no, it really is. I just wanted to use these sound effects. I just wanted to get one of them in. I haven't used them yet.
I'm not bad mouthing him because look, if God could use me to do something to help somebody, he could use anybody to do something good. So,
Absolutely. I wanted to on the father topic while we're on, and something I have to get better at is saying
are you
nice things and what?
are you a father now?
Yeah, I actually have been this whole time. I just haven't tell you. I
You
have
didn't
a
tell
I have a 16-year-old. No, I'm just kidding.
me.
I had a kid in middle school. No,
Hey,
which is normal in Ocala, I think. There's actually multiple people in my middle school having kids. So, what's crazy is, so think
hi,
of,
this is Mr. Smith. Meet Mr. Smith. Meet Mr. Smith.
imagine if you had a kid in middle school. Say you had your kid when you were like 12, and like your kids. Remember when you're like hanging out with your guy friends and you'd go over to like their parents' house, and imagine you're like 16, and then their mom's only 28. She's just like, isn't that crazy? Like, it's not that much older.
Well, yeah, I've got some friends that have spouses my kids' age.
I mean,
Hey,
hey, there's something
sure,
about the youthful women. I like women a few years younger than me, so I get it. By the time women are, people,
obviously I'm much much older than my wife Carla,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's just
See, there's just something about it. This is gonna be maybe an unpopular thing to say, but a
uh-oh.
lot of again, the name of my podcast is Openly Outspoken, Michael. If I have it come to my mind, I can't like suppress the thought. That's not healthy. So
Look, I won't hold you back, man.
when
Not that,
when women hit around 30, Michael, from my experience, I'm not saying
okay,
this is
I'll be right
all,
back.
yeah,
I'll be right back. Okay.
not all women, but the women that I've encountered when they hit 30, it's stressful. There's like my clock's ticking, they're trying to force stuff. It's just like, man, where it's just like
I'm gonna freeze me some eggs.
20, 24, 25. I just feel like they're just want to have fun, and I'm like, I just want to have fun. This is great. Like, so it's always a few years younger. It's just kind of aligned with me a little bit more. Not saying I'm not open minded, but I'm just going based off experience. Fatherhood thing though, back to the emotional stuff we were talking about. It's a little what so, and then back to the one thing I have to get better at, which is giving like saying like not or saying things I appreciate about people, giving compliments. I just like had a loss of words there. Something I've always like admired about you, and I've looked up to you in ways, and I hope I can model myself after if I have kids one day. We'll see. Is like I've always just thought you're a great father. What what do you feel like the keys of being a great father are, or what are like the keys to being a great father from your experience? Because I feel like uh, all your boys are just really well mannered, very respectful. You guys have a really close relationship, and that's not very common, unfortunately, in the world. So what do you feel the keys to having a great relationship with your children are, and just the keys to being a great father overall?
Right. So this is probably one of the most important things to me because I would see men that were extremely successful miss the mark in some ways. In my evaluation, is they would either say, "Okay, I'm going to be the best dad by being the best in my field, in my profession, and I'm going to crush it, and I'm going to become a multi-millionaire, billionaire, or whatever." And that's not bad. It's not a bad thing. But they would focus solely on that, and they would not focus on their kids. Um, well, let me just start from there. So I believe my first responsibility as a father is to serve my kids, to be a servant. And there's this book that I read called the Bible, and
Part of it.
yeah, it's been around for a while, and it says that if you want to accomplish a lot in life and be successful in life, you'll be a servant. And so I thought, I could go out and go into the mission field and or into the ministry or into the business world and crush it or save the world. But if I completely lost my family, then what kind of success is that? And so I saw that it was a mission given to me by God to go ahead and serve my kids. And even in simple ways. I mean, I would go to the room in the morning with a tray with breakfast on it, and actually, you know, actually, give them food, and I would really make me happy, to go ahead and serve my sons. The other thing was forgiveness, is to forgive. If they did something or I did something, is completely 100% forgiveness, Jeremy. Not like, oh, well, I'm going to forgive, but I'm not going to forget. To me, that's garbage. It's like forgiveness is 100%. And so forgiveness. And then the third thing that I think that is really important is being completely transparent. Completely. And to the point where I recalled I was going through a tough business thing that I'd shared with you at one time, and you're one of the few people, I guess, other than my sons and my wife, that I'd shared that with. But I shared it with them. I said, look, here's the situation. This is extremely difficult.
And how they were teens at the time, right?
Yeah, I mean, you remember when that happened, and I remember going to one of their bedrooms and openly outspoken, I guess openly honest. I was in tears, a grown man, saying, oh my gosh, this is what's happened. But I shared it with my son so they would know what I was going through, but also so they would see how I handled it. Because, I'm not going to fail, and if I do fail, then I'm going to go ahead and pick myself up and do the next best thing. What I mean by not failing is, I guess, let me not say that, not failing. I'm not going to give up. Okay, I'm not going to give up from doing the right things. And so I shared that with them from the point of beginning to how it was handled, and everything that happened. Everything worked out fine. But even other things like in life that do derail us, is I wanted them to be able to learn from me the things I didn't have the opportunity to learn from my father, of how to deal with success or how to deal with distractions or temptations. You know how many temptations are out there in life? And so I would actually be able to share those real, go home and say, hey, sons, here's what happened today. Can you believe this? And so they could see that, hey, look, I'm a human being like anybody else. Here's what happened. But here's how I handled it. And I think that having that, where I'm not like dad, unobtainable, oh, that's my father, no, I wanted to keep things very, very real with them so that they they could be equipped to handle life. And so that way I'm not saying, oh, you should have done that, and if you could have done that. And I actually taught them that shoulda, coulda, woulda are like enemies. You can learn from things, but move forward, consider the needs of others. I guess that would be the fifth thing. It would be to love God with all of your heart, all of your mind, all of your soul, all of your strength, and to love your neighbors yourself. So I think that those are the things. If I were to write a book on...
That's what I was just about to say. You should write a book on this.
That I would put those things in there because, I think that my opportunity to learn from my father was stolen away from me when I was really young. And let me tell you, even with all these things being said, I look at how I've done as a dad. I try to just be as loving and supportive as I can. And but I could tell you, like I was sharing earlier about shoulda, coulda, woulda, Jeremy. I'm human. I could look back and go, gosh. but then I stop it and go, okay, well, I did the best I could. Let me see what I can do better going forward. As a dad, and I guess six, and lastly, it doesn't ever stop. Being a father, being a dad doesn't ever stop. It continues. Even now, my older son is 32, then I've got 21 and 20. I don't ever stop being a dad, and being supportive, for them. So, yeah, thank you for asking me that.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, I remember when I was really young, my first major car that I got, that I was pretty materialistic at that moment, but I was like, I wanted an Audi. And, I got an Audi 5000S, and it was really cool. And then after that, the next car I wanted, no, it wasn't a Jaguar, and it wasn't a Lamborghini or anything like that. The next vehicle I wanted, Jeremy, was a minivan, because I wanted to have a family, and I wanted to have kids, and I wanted to have those relationships. So
Yeah.
sorry it takes so long.
No, that's good. I can't say I relate on the minivan part, but the rest is was a great response. So, yeah, actually, I feel like there's a big opportunity with fathers in particular, maybe, because that's like what the way of the superior man talks about. I think there's a big opportunity for growth with men in particular, to have that balance of, they're men, they have a backbone, they're confident, they're like what we expect men to be in society almost, but they're not over the top, and they also are willing to be open and have emotions and be loving and passionate too. They're that's what Way of the Superior Man talks about. They're that combination of the strong man, but that's also willing to get emotional when needed.
I could tell you, Jeremy, like, for the way that that you engage people, openly outspoken, I could say that just having an open life, like, I even went back to things that I experienced in my life before the boys were born, and after losing my second younger brother, I just, like, buried myself in work, and, like, I probably drank, every drink that could have been drank at that time, and I was just trying to go ahead and quiet all the noise and the pain and agony in my heart, and thankfully I don't have an addictive bone in my body, so I just stopped, but I even shared that with my sons. I even shared with them. I said, look, when I went through that time, here's how I handle it. Now, like I said, that wasn't the right way to handle it, but I wanted them to know that I'm not just, the dad that has made all these great decisions. Man, I have made probably some of the most selfish, bad decisions of any human being could ever make in my life. And I've shared those with my sons as well, so that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is an untapped knowledge opportunity for them to grow if they want to from it. And they have come back to me and they've shared with me, thank you for sharing those things.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's really good advice.
So I'm not saying, champagne and everything in moderation is a bad thing. That's a good thing. But I'm just taking that experience. I mean, I would relate that to just working too much. There's things that you can do that just distract you from your purpose and mission in life.
Yeah.
But those same things, if you don't have them, they could really, like, ruin your ability to live that mission and purpose in life as well. So moderation, I think you said it earlier.
Yeah, my listeners don't drink champagne. They drink the harder stuff, Michael. Yeah, I don't know if they do too much champagne, but that's okay. So
Mad Dog 2020 and 19.
Yeah. Another question about parent, like, if you're a parent let's start with a parent's perspective first. If you're a parent that maybe doesn't have the best relationship with your child, however old they are, 10, 20, 30, like, well, I guess it'll maybe depend on the age, but how would you recommend that parent that wants a better relationship with their child, like, try to build a stronger foundation to get closer with them. If what I'm saying makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It's like
It makes complete sense.
maybe they're my age. Like maybe the parents are in their 50s, their kids, late 20s, 30, and they just realize they,
Well, I
want a
can tell you,
closer relationship. What would you recommend those parents do to do that?
if you look at parenthood as like a job, if there's one job that you could completely fail at, even if you're the best parent, it's being a parent. So if you're going to an adult child, and saying you want to be closer to that adult child, I would say just start off with humbleness, pray about it, seek to be authentic and open and truthful, and listen. And I think what you're going to find is that you screwed up. There's things that you could have done better as a parent when your kids were younger, and just to listen and to own it. If there was something that you could have done better, there's such power in forgiveness that I think that if I were to write a third book, the first one that I've been writing is about my life, called 6 Feet from the Edge, and a famous singer let me use that title from a line in one of his songs, which was Grammy Award winning. The second one, I guess, would be about parenthood. The third one would be on forgiveness and the power of forgiveness. And if you've ever had somebody come and apologize to you genuinely, not manipulating, because we've all experienced that. Like,
Tell them you're sorry. Yeah.
you're not sorry. It's just you're trying to get something out of it. But if you really genuinely are regretful for something, is for somebody to come to you and say, "Hey, look, remember when I said that to you? I shouldn't have. I apologize. I'm sorry for that. I shouldn't have said that. And if I could take it back, I would. And going forward, I won't say anything like that." There's a lot to be said. Look, the reality is, over statistics, we don't believe. Maybe, Fauci is saying half the marriages end up in divorce, so we don't believe him. But statistically, over half the marriages end up in divorce. People don't forgive each other. They don't own their stuff. They don't apologize. They don't consider the needs of others. So I'd say, if you're an adult, if you're a parent, you have adult children, and you're not close to them, it's something that I read in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. First, seek to understand, and then secondly, seek to be understood. So first, seek to understand, listen. Be quiet, listen to somebody, understand them. A lot of times, and you're great at this, but a lot of times, you ever been talking to somebody and they interrupt you because they're really not listening to what you're saying? They're so focused on what they want to say that they completely just kind of mull over what you've said, don't listen to you, and they just want to be heard. So I guess parents with adult children, seek to understand, listen to your kids, and then be understood within the whole spectrum of owning whatever has to be owned, and apologizing and forgiveness and all of that. I think that's very, very, very important. I mean, I do not know one human being that doesn't look at their mom or dad and look and go, man, they really screwed up in some major ways. It's a tough job, man. It's tough. So I think that genuine engagement, Jeremy, is something that I know works for a fact. I mean, even with my oldest son, I was talking to him probably 2 months ago about something, and that I'd never even thought of. You know what? He's 32. I apologized to him, and I asked for his forgiveness. And I hope he doesn't mind me sharing that right now. But it's part of having a relationship, If you're going to have a real relationship, you're going to hurt the people you love. You're going to do stupid things. You're going to say wrong things. You're going to do the wrong things. If you have a relationship, regardless if you are Mother Teresa or Gandhi, you're going to do those things. Or Martin Luther King, Junior or whoever it is, you're going to do bad stuff. Own it, apologize genuinely, and seek forgiveness. And so I guess that is a huge, huge message that I'd like to share, to anybody out there.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. But parents, it's like the president, no matter who's in office, they're just going to get criticized. Half
Yeah.
the people love him, half of them hate him. Half of them hate him, no matter who it is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You, I know something we talk about regularly in our conversations is spirituality, and something I appreciated about your organization, Hope Now, when we first met, is the fact that you. This is probably about 6 years ago, I would guess, maybe like 2014. You got up on stage, maybe it was 2013, but 2013, 2014 ish. You got up on stage and said, hey, we're here for the kids. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, Muslim, atheist. None of that matters. We're here to support the children, and that's what our goal here is. And I appreciate the fact that you included us atheists. We're never included in anything. Now, I would.
Oh, wait! You're an atheist?
I
I didn't realize that. This is over with, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've talked about it. I'm like
I mean,
spiritual agnostic. I mean, that kind of can get bucketed in the atheist world, like.
yeah.
But I'm not. I definitely don't say I'm part of any religion or anything. I'm kind of in no man's land right now. I'm open minded, and I'm seeing what's out there. We'll see, but that's kind of where I've been at. But it felt inclusive for me that you did that, so I appreciate that first and foremost. And I've shared that with you before, but I just wanted to share it for any listeners as well. I think that's a great message with a nonprofit organization, because a lot of nonprofits make it very clear that they're, people of Christian faith or whatever it is, which is great. But I think when it's about supporting children, we should be as inclusive as possible, because the purpose is to support the children in our community that need better school supplies and need medical care and dental care and things like that. And whatever religion people are, I mean, if we can help kids, that's all that matters, right?
I really appreciate you sharing that, because I don't when I decided to share something like that, I wasn't sure how it would be taken, especially by people that like to be right. I like to be right, and I like to believe that.
No pun intended with the right. No, just kidding.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
like,
Well, like I can't even vote in primaries, because it's like I'm no party affiliation, so it's like it's tough. Um, so, but when I decided to share that, I think a couple things that came to mind is that. I grew up in a family where my stepmom is African American, and I was able to learn from her and from her father, who became my grandfather and one of the people I looked up to most in my life. And I learned about the things specifically that he went through. He served in 3 wars, and he was there. In France, when the war was over, and only to come back to the United States and to be treated the way that he was treated in certain situations, and I remember finding out that here's a man that fought for for his country, and came back, and there were certain restaurants that he couldn't even go eat at, when he was traveling. Across the southeast United States. And so I learned about inequality and about racism, and I learned about these things from a person that experienced them that I loved and that became one of my heroes. And so I was able to understand a little bit better than some people might have how that impacted people. It did impact and does impact people's lives. And then the other thing is that um, going through the things I've gone through in life and understanding how short life is, that how precious each life is. And, I grew up an atheist. I never had gone to church my entire life.
Where
And
did that transition happen, Michael? That's actually, I'd like to, where, at what happened where you went from someone like me, maybe somewhat similar where my spiritual beliefs are, to, where you are now faith-wise? What caused that?
what was interesting is that, when I was really little, we lived off the 13th hole of Pebble Beach Golf Course, which if anybody knows, I mean, that's like very, very nice. And then from there, lived in a very difficult situation for a period of time, and then lived in a beautiful house right outside of Madrid with my parents, and then got an apartment with a great friend of mine named Kevin, one of my best buddies, in Alcalá de Henares, which is the home of De Cervantes, that wrote The Man of La Mancha. It was pretty cool. But I went from that to, and being a teenager, to moving here to Florida. And this was back in the middle 1980s, like maybe 1986. And I ended up being without a home, without a place to live, for a pretty good period of time. And I was in a situation where I had no support system. I had no parents, no family nearby, nobody. This is before cell phones. There was no computers,
Before electricity?
Yeah, I mean,
Before
people
electricity?
had powdered wigs, and we were
Yeah.
in monkeys, okay? It was like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so there was a time when I was actually hopeless. I mean, I had nobody, I had nothing. And here I was, 18 years old, and I wasn't so destitute that I was thinking about losing my life or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but I was extremely hopeless, and I never thought about God in my entire life. And I remember the night. I still remember I was squatting in an apartment that had no electricity. Nobody knew that they didn't know I was staying there. And I'd stayed. I remember this must have been. I stayed in some really tough places. But this night, I remember for the first time in my entire life thinking, if there's a God, then why are all these hypocrites out here? Why are all these people out here like asking for money? It's like, really? If there's a God, is that what it's all about? And we're right and everybody else is wrong. And I said, if there is a God, please show me that you are real. And if there is really a God, then I will live my life in a way like I really do believe. Because if there is a God, I want to know what He says. I want to know what, like, does He have like a roadmap for me in my life to tell me how to live? And I remember that night saying I was going to go sleep on the doorstep of this church, and I decided not to, but I was that drastic. And I woke up the next morning and I said, you know what? I should have gone and slept on the doorstep of that church and asked for help, not financial help, but guidance spiritually. And I didn't. And I went out on the lake of the apartment community that I was crashing in this apartment of, and I was sitting on this dock just thinking how I blew it. That was my one time I ever thought about God, and I didn't take the action that I should have taken, and I messed up. And so I left the dock of that on the lake, and I started walking back to the apartment. And I looked up, and there was a couple there, a man and a woman. And they said, "Hey, do you all live here?" And I said, "Well, yeah, kind of." And they said, "Well, we do too." And the man said he was a counselor at a elementary school or something, middle school or something like that. And then his wife was a teacher. And they said, hey, we'd like to invite you to bring your neighbor day at our church. And that blew me away. That was like, I'd never, ever gone to a church my entire life. I'd never talked to somebody about God or church or anything like that. And I said, sure, I would love to go. And I went. And I said, is there somebody that can teach me about God? And they actually took the time to not just have me go, to hear Sunday service and, to be wowed and everything like that. But they actually took the time to walk me through these ancient writings. And I learned about the Word of God. I learned about sin. I learned about the kingdom of God. I learned about the church. I learned about the life that we're supposed to live. And I learned about Jesus, that he wasn't just a caricature, of some guy that looked like, a hippie or, a rock star or something like that, that he actually was God that came to be born here to show us a way. And he actually did teach things that were real. But it was just that most people decided not to listen to him or obey them. And so I thought, wow, this is pretty powerful. And I started to follow those ways of living. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not like the biggest, person that makes the biggest mistakes in the world or does some of the bad, things that I wish I would not do. But it does mean that I will look at those things that I do wrong and make a decision to not do them again and to turn away from them. It's a thing called repentance. And so that's what happened in my life, and it became very, very real. And I guess the only time I really veered off, straight veer off from that, was after I lost both my younger brothers. That was really tough. But then I got back on track and continued to live my life like that. But I would say I'm one of the Christian leaders that is the most anti-Christian leaders that's out there.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's some really great groups out there that do some really great stuff, some wonderful people. But I think there's also some groups out there that really do a disservice to what I've read in this book about loving and forgiving and being patient. And one of the first things that Jesus says is to love your neighbor as yourself. And not only that, he says to love your enemies. And so like when we were pulling Hope Now together, by the way, Hope Now, I remember sitting in my house thinking, what are we going to call this foundation? Well, my brothers had no hope. So I was like, let's help people have hope now. The thing is that Jesus taught me to love people. And so I have certain convictions, but it doesn't mean that I can't be around. In fact, what I read, Jeremy, was that God, who was born a human and had the name Jesus, which is our translation, it was like Yeshua. Yeshua is kind of a cool name. But the modern day religious leaders of his time hated him and said, look, he hangs out with these prostitutes and these sinners and tax collectors, and this was God. And I was like, wow, that makes sense. It's like we can hang out with anybody, even Baptists.
Yeah.
It's kind of a joke. We can hang out with anybody.
Religious jokes, they get me every time, Michael.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah.
I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
It's like, but that's what happened in my life. But it became very, very real to the point where, yeah, it doesn't mean I'm perfect. Man, I make mistakes all the time. But I try to stay focused on following the teachings of Yeshua, of Jesus. And if everybody did, then our world would be a very different place. Because you could have like all beliefs, all skin colors, all socioeconomic statuses, all these types of things are all part of Hope Now. So I appreciate you sharing that, man, and asking me that question. That's pretty deep stuff, man.
Hey, man, I'm trying to. I got my carver out here. I'm just trying to find some good stuff. Did you? Another deep question, Michael. So brace yourself. Hold on to your chair arms right there. Did you, when you had some of these tough losses, did you question your faith or like question God?
No, never, never. Because one thing I read in this book was that he came to bring light into this world, and this world is a tough place, and we can all agree on that. I mean, look what's been happening ever since I've been alive, and even currently now. I mean, there's tough situations of just people trying to exist, and it's difficult. So I read in this book that this world is a tough place, but he's come so that we can have hope for a better life to come, and that he's going to redo all of this. But as far as we're here now, there are going to be troubles, there are going to be trials. Unfortunately, there is going to be loss. There is going to be hopelessness. So I never once questioned God, because what he taught me was that he's here to work through us so that we can go ahead and love others and forgive. Like, I could tell you, even being able to forgive myself or forgive somebody else, I mean, that's a major thing. Being patient with somebody, that's a major thing.
Why do you think it's so hard for people to forgive, Michael? Because I agree. I think the world would be a better place. Why is it so hard for us to forgive as humans?
I mean, because I'm usually always right.
That's true. Me too. That's what we have in common.
So if I'm right and you're wrong, you're the one that needs to get over it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of joking, right? So if somebody does something against you, they're the one that's wrong and you're the one that's right. So I'm indignant, I'm holier than thou. I'm the one that's right. You did this wrong. How dare you do that? And so it's easy for me to not unknowingly become bitter or resentful. And I'm bitter and resentful, but I have it masked under the guise that, well, I'm justified and I was the one that was wronged. You wronged me. And so, I'm not going to go ahead and really forgive you, but I'm going to hold that over you. And like, you are a lesser person because you did that to me. And look, I'm going to get divorced. Okay. Or I'm not going to be your friend, or I'm going to hold this over you. Last time I checked, we all do things to hurt or wrong other people. All of us, all imperfect.
Except the social justice warriors of 2020, they're perfect. But yes, other than them, Michael, everybody.
I guess we all have to agree that they're right.
Yeah.
But I think in a relationship, it's easy to be, indignant about things and how dare you do that. And even, I've struggled with that in my life. And I've had to just take an inventory of any relationships that I have and go, wow, I thought I forgave that person, but look, this thing came up again. Let me make sure I completely forgive that person, because that's something that is a deep conviction for me. So pretty deep stuff. It's like relationships are so intricate.
Yeah, and that's something I definitely need to get better at, is forgiveness. Our egos definitely can get the best of us at times.
I learned ego is edging God out. EGO.
Yeah. Edging God out. Okay.
It could be edging good out. EGO. Edging good out.
Well, good could be Good could be subjective.
Edging greatness out.
Edging greatness out. But
yeah, is that better?
I mean, my ego, like have you read Ego is the Enemy? Have you read that book? No. It is a good book by Ryan Holiday.
Though.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like it's something I've had to work on for many years, and it still comes up. I mean, the one thing I heard about ego that actually, and this is where my therapy and coaching has been really helpful for me, we shouldn't ever try to discount and be mad at our thoughts and try to make our thoughts go away, because that's not good, suppressing feelings and thoughts. The key with ego for me, and when I heard this, it just changed my life in a positive way, is being aware of your ego and just monitoring it. And then just like before something comes out of your mouth, you think to yourself, okay, that's not me, that's my ego. I'm going to overpower my ego and not say this. But we can't be like, oh, I can't have these thoughts, or I shouldn't think that way. It's, hey, this is my ego and this is what my ego is thinking. Do you see the difference in what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I mean, this is really important because our thoughts are always happening.
We think of some messed up stuff.
Our brains are always on just always thinking. They're not stopping, even when we're sleeping, right? You know, we're having REM sleep and we're dreaming. But like if you walk into a room and you just look at the color blue, or you look at a person, or you look at a food, it's like you're not like telling yourself, I'm going to think about this. Your mind is already thinking about it. Your brain is already thinking about it. And so our thoughts are always just on a constant track of thought, and they are not stopping for the most part, right? I mean, you know, we can really quiet our thoughts, but they're always thinking. So one thing I read in the Bible, it said, take every thought captive and make it submissive to Jesus. And so I thought, well, gosh, what's that mean? Well, Jesus said, love is patient, love is kind, love is not self-seeking. And man, how many times a day do I completely mess that up? But like, it's getting back on track and taking those thoughts captive. And you know, there's those times when you're like, oh man, I shouldn't have said that or done that. You take that captive and then move forward. So that's an interesting thing to wrestle, because here we are talking about our thoughts as we have them. You know, how self-aware are we? I mean, man, there are so many times when I am so unaware. You know, I think I'm self-aware, but there's things I don't even know that I don't know.
Everybody thinks they're self-aware.
Yeah, well, you know,
especially me. I'm really self-aware. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what everybody thinks? I learned this in a book, Michael. This is for anyone listening to this. This is about to be some gold. What I'm about to tell you. So this book about like manipulation and psychology I read because, of course, my ego loves stuff like that. It talked about different.
Was it a dating book?
This one was not a dating book. I have read some great dating books though. It talked about like questions and like ways to like sales and influence. And one of the things it recommended was a question that was, do you consider yourself open-minded? I may have even mentioned this to you before because I just like started doing it to everybody. Everybody considers themselves open-minded. So if you're looking to get an answer for something, if you're looking to get what you want out of a situation and you know they could be hesitant, if you ask first if they consider themselves open-minded and they're going to say yes because everybody does, then they can't say no to the next question. Or at least they're going to be a lot more, they would be like shamed to say no almost, you know?
If you asked me that, my first question to you would be like, what are you getting at?
Thank you for listening to Openly Outspoken with Jeremy Adams. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player so you get updated when new episodes are live. If you enjoyed this episode, the best way to support is to leave a 5-star review and share the podcast with people in your life that you feel would benefit from these types of discussions. Visit openlyoutspoken.com for additional details on the show. Find out how to connect with Jeremy on social media and learn more information about Jeremy's personal and business life. We'll see you next time.